everybody. 2 streams in a row. I'm so proud of myself. Tracy, I'm so glad you were able to stay up. Tracy is on the other side of the globe and is a real trooper. So, Tracy, I'm glad I got to see you, so to speak. So, everybody, thank you so much for joining me for today's live stream. I did not make any videos because I got carried away watching my What If screeners for Marvel. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. I cannot wait to be able to discuss them with you. So that's what I did. That's what I did today. So also, I've been having some trouble sleeping, which has kind of messed up my week. I got to get it under control. Although in this case, it's beyond my control, and that's what's making me really, it's hard to go to sleep sometimes when you're really upset. Well, that's me right now. So very frustrating. The top of the hour, I want to say at the top of the stream, I would like, Gary, I'm glad you also made it. Who's getting ready to go to sleep? So I'm just curious as to who's on the other side of the globe like Tracy and Gary. It's 1:50 in the morning for Mr. Jojo. You guys are great. Lena, it's 12 a.m. You guys are so nice. And Jay Berkey, it's 10 p.m. in the UK. You guys are great. All right, everybody. So the first thing I want to say, though, is Bob Odenkirk, I hope he gets better soon. I'm very worried about him. I was shocked to see that headline last night. The fact that there hasn't been an update as to how he's doing is, I think, very troubling. So I really hope he's getting good care. And I hope that he's going to be all right. I'm very, very worried about him. It's unusual for him not to have issued a statement by now, or for his representative to have at least done it. For those of you who didn't hear, Bob Odenkirk passed out on set in New Mexico filming Better Call Saul, and he was rushed to an Albuquerque hospital, and he has been in the hospital under care of doctors ever since. That happened around in the afternoon yesterday, and on TMZ only found about it late they only found out about it late in the day. So he's been in the hospital for almost 24 hours at this point. So I hope that he's fine. So I hope he sees how the internet has rallied around him. All right, so let's talk about these stories. We have 2 in particular, very interesting stories. And then Jennifer Garner. I'm very happy for her, though. I'm happy she got that deal. All right, so first story of the day. Boop. All right, so before we get started on this one, I just want to say, some people like to have the idea that I'm Team Marvel or I'm Team DC. I find it very amusing, although sometimes it's annoying. But I have to tell you that I honestly do not care. I mean, I don't have a horse in the race. I am in the announcer booth. Hey, Hank Deasy. Oh, who else joined? Hank, and if you become a member during the live stream, I'll give you a shout out. Teo Gugush, thank you for joining. Thank you for becoming a member. So as I was saying, I honestly don't care. I love the game. I love the Hollywood game, and that's what fascinates me. I love seeing people try to play it, and I love to see them succeed, and it's amusing sometimes to watch them fall flat on their face. So that's how I view it. I honestly, I just really could not care less what. It doesn't matter to me whether or not the suicide score is 100 or 0. It's just, I find it very interesting. So that's what we're going to do today. Hey, JLo 1972. We're going to kind of do a deep dive on this initial Rotten Tomatoes score. So it's very interesting to see the studios trying to grapple with the monster that Rotten Tomatoes has become. And I'm a Rotten Tomatoes critic, and I am a Critics' Choice critic. But I recently interviewed Al Jean, who is one of the original people on The Simpsons. He's the showrunner to this day. Go check that out. I did an interview with him about Loki, the Simpsons Loki crossover. Hey, Childish Gambino. And we talked a little bit about movie critics because he did a very popular animated show. Well, it wasn't very popular, but it had a very strong cult following called The Critic. John Lovitz voiced the main character. And I asked him about critics today. And he said a couple of really interesting things. And one thing, so I'm going to actually mention him twice in this discussion. But the first thing he said was that it used to be that a couple of critics were the standout voices, and now they've been reduced to a number. So critics are not so much individually important, except for some, but for the most part, people are looking for that RT score. You know, it used to be, how many thumbs did it get from Roger Ebert and oh, it's been so long. I know it's always, of course, what is it? Roper. Siskel and Ebert. Siskel and Ebert. It used to be, well, that's Siskel, right? Siskel and Ebert. You know, it used to be, how many thumbs did it get? But now it's, what's the score? The score is really, really, really important. Now, as for Suicide Squad, I think that the marketing campaign has been okay. I just think from the get-go, there surprisingly hasn't been very much interest in Suicide Squad. Right out of the gate at DC fandom, I think many of us were shocked to see how the trailers underperformed, and they had two in comparison to the Wonder Woman, the Batman trailer, all that stuff. That stuff performed a lot stronger. So I think we were all kind of like, even from that point, we were kind of like, that's weird. Now, I picked this poster of them running in the rain because I got to tell you, when I was leaving AMC Lincoln Square over the weekend, I went to see Snake Eyes. I went with my parents, and I was going down the escalator, and I was like, that's a nice poster in the rain, particularly when it's backlit. I don't know if anyone here has been to AMC Lincoln Square, but they have this right at the escalators, and it's gorgeous. It's like a really beautiful poster. And I turned to my parents, and I said, oh, hey, it was when we were leaving, and I said, you got to admit, that's a pretty nice poster. And my dad was like, that's like the movie we just saw, though. Because he just walked out of Snake Eyes. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. And I bring that up because I think that, you know, there might be just so much superhero stuff in the space right now that I'm curious to see what happens to the mainstream audience. You know, like us core people are like, oh, yeah. But, you know, we're used to reading a stack of comic books a week. Although even at some points we've been like, this is a lot of content. Hey, Patrick Derling. So I think that there's that element. Also, Marvel is becoming more and more prolific. Like, I watched What If today, the first 3 episodes, and I'm under total embargo right now. But I will just say that Marvel is just getting so far ahead of everybody else, and they're just getting so prolific, and they're getting darker, that I think that, like, what space do they leave for everyone else? Like, it used to be, well, if you want dark and sophisticated stories, well, that's what DC's going to do. But then Marvel decided they were going to do dark and sophisticated stories. And then DC, for some reason, was like, well, and we're not going to do them. And you're like, what's happening? So I think that that's kind of like a weird situation. Like, you know, I think that these properties need to carve spaces out for themselves. And I don't really know if Marvel's leaving space for anybody, honestly. All right, so Warner Brothers had a plan. They were like, how can we get, because, you know, I have to say, Warner Brothers, in their defense, has just a horrible relationship with, like, the public. You know, like, they're constantly being bombarded. It's so difficult for them. They're like, we just can't take it anymore. So we're like, how can we make sure that this movie has a great Rotten Tomato score? And they kind of put themselves in a difficult position because while the movie hits almost every other country in the world next week, starting like the 4th through the 5th, it hits the UK and France this week. And the UK, of course, is a big market. So I don't know why they decided to do that. I don't know why they opened it a week early in the UK. It's like a weird choice. Hey, Mike. So I think they kind of like put themselves like in a difficult position. So if a movie hits a major market anywhere on the face of the earth, the embargo has to lift. Although I've seen a couple UK critics say that they're not even seeing the movie until after embargo. And sure enough, the one bad review that it got, it's no longer at 100, as one of you pointed out, is from the UK. Someone from the UK was like, whap, here's a Rotten Tomato. So I thought that was very interesting. Entertainment Weekly also momentarily gave it a Rotten Tomato. Like, I guess a C+ really is on the edge. What do you think? To me, a C+ is a rotten review. But, you know, of course, it's up to the reviewer to set that. But I'm curious if you guys think a C+ is a fresh or a Rotten Tomato. Let me ask you that. See, Patrick agrees with me. I just don't know how, I mean, like, where's the line? Al Jean, in my interview with him, said that if a movie's right middle ground, it's going to do the best. because it's, it's not bad enough to get a Rotten Tomato. So you guys yourselves are divided on it. That's why we need a slightly spoiled, but you could still eat a tomato. As Paul just said, slightly moldy tomato. Barbie Minaj says, if I got a C+ in my paper, my parents were not happy. Agreed. I think it should be anywhere in the A and B range should be fresh, and anything lower is rotten, quite frankly. But, because, there's a lot of variations in the A's and B's. We're talking pluses and minuses. I mean, I think a B- is as low as you can get, and it still is fresh. But again, it's the Rotten Tomatoes lets the critics at the fresh or Rotten Tomato at their own discretion. The C+ is from Entertainment Weekly, which, by the way, has its own reputation. Entertainment Weekly has its own reputation of being very, very notoriously difficult in giving reviews. Like they're the magazine. It was a different critic, but remember they're the ones. Oh yeah, The Witcher. They're like, we didn't even watch the whole Witcher, and here's a Rotten Tomato, and everyone was like, what? Like it was insane. Because the first episode of The Witcher was the weakest. So you were like, no wonder you didn't like it. So it was crazy. So Entertainment Weekly has their own crazy, sketchy past. So Warner Brothers, and again, Warner Brothers has every right to do this. Warner Brothers really picked and chose who saw this movie in advance to make sure it got a really strong RT score. And again, there ain't nothing wrong with doing that. So they started out with they were a little under 100, and then Entertainment Weekly switched it up, and then they were at 100, and it was glorious, and everyone was like, woo! And I think DC people were like, we finally got a good score. Although you've had good scores in the past, quite frankly. But it was 100. I mean, there's something special about that. You're like, oh, move over, Paddington, although some jerk ruined that. So it's someone said, doesn't Marvel do the same thing? No, Marvel doesn't do the same thing. Marvel, it's interesting. Marvel, I think, creates a really strong review community with everybody. I think that's what Marvel does. But Warner Brothers is ghosting critics and being really difficult. So it's, we'll see what happens. That's the most difficult thing about this. I think we're very, very early. This is early days. I mean, the saga of Suicide Squad's performance has only just begun. This is the first note. Yesterday, I predicted that it would be in the 90s. High 90s, I said. I was like, it's going to be high 90s for sure. Because I feel that people, particularly in the critic community, really love James Gunn. So I would like to point out that if you're excited about the score, it's James Gunn's win. It's not DC's win. I think that this is totally to support James Gunn. Just like I think a lot of critics stepped up to support Kevin Smith. They have both of those directors, I think, not only have a very strong reputation with critics, but I think that they're cut a lot from the same cloth. I think that they're very similar people and they like the same stuff. So I think that's kind of what happens there. So I think that's very interesting. That's the thing. The Rotten Tomatoes score isn't just a number because it comes from people. And so I think it's really important to take a look and see what the story is behind that number. I think that there is still a lot of interesting stuff happening over at Rotten Tomatoes. It's not just, again, a number. So I was also surprised to see that a lot of the reviews, their reasoning for giving the Suicide Squad a fresh tomato was that it was better than the last one. And that's an interesting criteria to review a movie with, right? That it was at least better than the last one. So it should have a fresh, it warrants a fresh tomato. And that's a perfectly valid line of thought, to be honest with you. So, but I just think it's interesting to keep that in mind. And I'm glad it's better than the last movie. I thought the last Suicide Squad was awful. Really awful. So, again, we're very early at the beginning of this movie's saga. I haven't seen it yet, so I told you, I suspect it's like the trailers. I honestly believe that if you liked the trailers, you will like this movie. And if you didn't like the trailers, you probably won't like the movie. I'm excited to see it. I think to me it reads very much like a Suicide Squad comic. And while I think the Suicide Squad comic is only medium, I do buy it every week. And I do think that it's going to be the best Harley Quinn we've seen to date. And I'm very excited about that as a big Harley Quinn fan. So I haven't seen the movie, so I don't know what my review is going to be for it yet. We don't know the audience reaction. We can't judge a Rotten Tomatoes score until we see what the audience reaction is. What's the audience RT score? What's the audience cinema score? Those things are incredibly important. There's just absolutely no way to tell if an RT score is justified until you see what the audience is, what the meeting is, the meeting of the minds. I'll be curious. Maybe they feel the UK market's going to be really positive towards this, and maybe that's why they opened it in that country first. They're like, the UK is going to love it. Because here's the thing. The more positive it gets, if anyone comes out and says they don't personally care for it, it's easier to brand that person as a hater, right? So it's like, it's 97% on Rotten Tomatoes. If you give it a Rotten Tomato, you're a hater. If you're an audience person and you say, well, I didn't care for it, well, then you're a hater. And that's why you kind of want to create this strong front. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Also, of course, the very important thing is what's going to happen to the box office. And also, I think for sure it'll trend on when it hits HBO Max on Thursday night. We're doing a live watch along. You can watch it with me. It's Thursday, August 5th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time when the first showings start. This movie's going to trend like a mofo. It's going to trend like a mofo. Now, the only question is, in which direction will it trend? I'm not sure. I think that Twitter, I hate passwords, no, seriously. That is a great username. So anyway, I feel that social media also really favors James Gunn. I think that the Twitter group really likes him. So I think I suspect the reaction will be very strong on Twitter, but we'll see. But a lot of people are going to tweet about it. I think it's going to be very, very successful on Twitter. I think personally, being on HBO Max is probably the best thing that could have ever happened to this movie because it allows people who are underage to watch the movie, even though it's a hard R, because there's no gatekeeping on HBO Max. So that's a really big deal. And then also, I think that this movie probably is a fantastic stream. I think it's probably a really strong stream. So I think that it's going to just be like just a huge success on HBO Max. I feel very strongly about that. So we'll see what the ultimate score is. I think the next couple of days, I think the reaction out of the UK for critics and for audiences is going to be crucial. I think we have to see what happens there. Because a whole slew of UK critics and YouTubers, by the way, so spoilers are going to start leaking like crazy, are going to see this movie starting tomorrow night. And there's another round of fan screenings tomorrow night in the United States. So, but I don't know how, again, as I said yesterday, I don't know how spoilery this movie is, quite frankly, because these things aren't all, like, What If is, like, super spoilery. On Marvel, like, wow, super spoilery! So I think that they have to watch out for. But this, not too spoilery, I don't think. We'll see. It currently has, I think, 53 reviews. Suicide Squad currently has 53 reviews. How high can it go? Just for comparison's sake, by the way, Jungle Cruise, which is own embargo just lifted yesterday, has 102 reviews. So the Disney movie has double the Warner Brothers movie, just to give you an idea of the access, the limited access. Black Widow ended up with 393 reviews, and Wonder Woman 1984 ended up with 433 reviews. So there's a long way to go. So Lena says it's 54 reviews at 98%. So yeah, it's got a long way to go. But I think that I think Warner Brothers did the best they could to set it up for success, to be honest with you. I am curious to see how many people show up because I think the interest in it outside of that core fandom has been low. But we'll see. You just never know. You never know. But I think that just like Warner Brothers manipulated the last trailer that they released for this, I think that they've done that the same thing with the RT score. And I think so far it's very good. Mexican Nacho says, how will this movie get a fresh tomato from you? To be honest with you, I would be shocked if I gave Suicide Squad a Rotten Tomato. I don't see it happening for Harley Quinn alone. I think the performances are going to make me give the movie a fresh tomato. I mean, because I'm judging it off of the trailers. Even though I think the trailers have big problems, I think that the performances are so strong from Margot Robbie, Idris Elba, Daniela Melchior, David Dastmalchian as Polka Dot Man, Hey Rogue Vader 1996. I just can't imagine hitting those guys with a Rotten Tomato. I mean, you see what I'm saying? Do you see how you start to see how it becomes of like how you decide what kind of tomato you're going to give it, right? Like, I think that maybe Rotten Tomatoes would maybe be a better site if you were asked to give the movie a letter grade. I think that would maybe work better. Don't give any spoilers, Rogue Vader 1996. So I think that it would be really, really hard for me to give it a Rotten Tomato. So I'd have to like absolutely hate it. I mean, I had serious problems with Birds of Prey and I still gave it a fresh tomato because I thought that the movie had some good elements and I thought that it accomplished some important things. Like, it's hard for me to hit a movie. I mean, I think when you're not a Rotten Tomatoes critic, you're like, give me that tomato, God damn it. But when you are, and you know that people worked really hard on a movie and that there's a whole lot of people who depend on it and you have the fandom factored in there, I mean, you got to really, really have a problem with the movie to hit it with a Rotten Tomato. What have I given Rotten Tomatoes to recently? And although I got to say, for Masters of the Universe, I was like one of only 2 people who gave that movie a Rotten Tomato. But I was like, I just can't look at myself in the mirror if I gave that movie, if I gave that show a fresh tomato. I was like, I just couldn't do it. Also because I thought that Masters of the Universe was like intentionally gave everybody the middle finger. So it makes you feel less bad hitting somebody with a Rotten Tomato if that's what they're doing. So that's the link to my Rotten Tomatoes account. So you can see how I've rated things. So I gave a Rotten Tomato to Space Jam: A New Legacy, although I know people who loved that movie, but I just really did not care for it. I was like, it was too bad in parts. I gave No Sudden Move a Rotten Tomato because it made no sense. I'm sad to say I gave The Boss Baby 2 a Rotten Tomato. Sorry, baby. I hit that baby with a Rotten Tomato. I gave The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard a Rotten Tomato. So you see, I'm fair. I gave The Woman in the Window. I don't want to be one of those critics who never gives a Rotten Tomato. So I gave The Woman in the Window a Rotten Tomato because it deserved it. I controversially gave The Mitchells versus the Machines a Rotten Tomato. I was like one of the only people. Justice Society World War II, Rotten Tomato. I gave Thunder Force a Rotten Tomato, but that was a huge hit. I gave Yes Day a Rotten Tomato, which we'll be talking about shortly. I gave the SpongeBob movie a Rotten Tomato, and I gave, sadly, The Little Things a Rotten Tomato. So, you know, I'm fighting the good fight, man. Armed with 2 tomatoes, a fresh one and a rotten tomato. But I got to tell you, I mean, I just can't, it would be shocking to me if I gave Suicide Squad. And that's why I really honestly feel there should be a 3rd tomato option. There really needs to be a 3rd tomato. It's not fresh, but you could eat it tomato. That's the I really feel. Who here thinks that there should be a 3rd tomato on Rotten Tomatoes? Hey, Daniel Williams. A yellow tomato, Ashley. That's pretty funny. I like that. Yeah. I think, canned tomato, Ari. I like canned tomato. Tomato that's been in the window. Yeah, everybody seems to agree. I think that this is getting a little bit ridiculous that there isn't a 3rd tomato. Because the point that Al Jean made, the Simpsons guy, was he said, hey, Dara McKernan, if you're the type of filmmaker who makes strong choices, you're bound to upset some people. And those people are going to hit you with the Rotten Tomato. And so if you make safe films, you're going to get fresh tomatoes. And is that really a way a system should work? And I was like, Al Jean, you're a genius. His thoughts on criticism I thought were pretty brilliant. It made me have even more respect for the fact that he made a show about movie critics. All right, so where are you guys planning to see Suicide Squad? Who's going to see it in theaters? Who's going to see it on HBO Max? I mean, it's free for no extra cost. I mean, talk about a canned tomato. I mean, how are you not going to watch the movie when you can watch it that way? And then also, or who's going to maybe skip it? Oh, Halsey already saw it. That's great. I don't see anyone saying they're not going to go. So that's very promising. Oh, Brett. Yep, that's right. Watch party, baby. That's awesome. Hey, Shield 91, welcome back. Travis, I appreciate that you're going to watch my spoiler review. I'm excited. Next week is going to be like wall-to-wall Suicide Squad coverage as soon as I see the movie. I see one or two of you skipping it, but for the most part, everyone's going to go check it out. The question is, what's the person going to do in Middle America who never, ever goes to the movies usually? That's right, Chad. I did give Knives Out a Rotten Tomato, and I don't regret it. Its mystery was ridiculous, even though I had a good time. I mean, it was like, I liked the atmosphere of the film, but I did not care for the script. That Ryan Johnson. All right. Lena says, what videos are you planning to make about the Suicide Squad? I can't tell you. It's a surprise. But, you know, it's basically the usual with maybe like something fun in there. I have to see it, too. I have to see if there's anything like what they give me to work with. All right. Let's get to the next story of the day. So that was the first one. So I think that it was fascinating situation. Fascinating. And I have to say, I was really surprised that it didn't trend, that it got 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. It was also, nothing was happening today. I would have thought for sure that it would trend. That's a good suggestion, Grace Marie. I shall write that down. I thought for sure getting 100% on Rotten Tomatoes would have caused it to trend. So that would be the one thing that would make me nervous. I'd be like, you still don't care? What? You gave me a good idea for a video, fellow Grace. I like that video idea. Quite a bit. All right. I just created a new Suicide Squad video for next week. I'm excited. All right, let's get to the next one. That's right, Graces Unite. All right, second story of the day. Boop. All right, so the Haunted Mansion. That's right, poor Olympics, Zachary Smith. Poor Olympics. All right, so the Haunted Mansion is moving along quickly. It has its director. It has for a while now. Justin Simien, who directed Dear White People, the Netflix, I think it was the Netflix show, right? And so one exciting lead, one less exciting lead. So as you can see, the Haunted Mansion, following in the footsteps of the classic Eddie Murphy original one. Hey, Obachina Okoro, welcome. Oh, I like, that's such a good picture of you. I feel I can really see you there. So, following in the footsteps of Eddie Murphy, and I Toon Dude 19, it would be wonderful if Eddie Murphy showed up. That would make me very happy. But I'm very happy that Lakeith Stanfield, who I love, last saw him in Judas and the Black Messiah. He's so talented. He's in talks to star. That's a fantastic idea. And then also Tiffany Haddish, who I have mixed feelings on. I personally like Tiffany Haddish, but I think I don't know if Kevin Hart consistently delivers. Kevin Hart really has a strong audience that he still has, despite the controversy that he's experienced. I'm not sure about Tiffany Haddish, though. Barbie Minaj says I love both of them. What do you guys think? Who are you excited about? You can say Lakeith, Tiffany, or both, or none, but I mean, I'd be surprised if you weren't excited about Lakeith. Well, the reason it's not Journey Smollett A. Smalls is because it's a comedic role, as you'll find out in a moment. Oh, see, I see some Tiffany love. I see some Tiffany Haddish love. Good for her. Oh, that's great. I'm very happy. I'm impressed. Suddenly, as Disney, I would feel much better about this casting choice. I think everybody's very happy. Tiffany Haddish, I don't even know. I didn't see her do anything anti-vax, so I'm not going to comment on that because I don't know if it's true or not. I think that was Letitia Wright, not Tiffany Haddish, right? I mean, I would be surprised if they both did that. All right, so anyway, who will they be playing? Well, get this. Hey, Jack admins, this movie sounds pretty awesome. All right, so they've moved the Haunted Mansion setting to the French Quarter of New Orleans. Oh my God, it makes me want a Princess and the Frog movie, but I will take this. So they're moving the Haunted Mansion to the French Quarter of New Orleans. So I'm like, it's going to be amazing. I can't wait. So that's where the story takes place. And Lakeith Stanfield will be playing our male lead, who is a widower, who doesn't believe in ghosts anymore. He's lost his love of the occult and all that stuff. He doesn't believe in that stuff, but he's still giving tours in the New Orleans French Quarter to tourists. But he's not doing a great job these days because his heart's just not in it. Oh my God, it writes itself. It's so good. It's just such a bad idea. I'm glad you're back too, Jack Admins. So I think Lakeith Stanfield can do a great job. By the way, since he is a widower, I guarantee you his dead wife will show up in the movie. I mean, it's a movie about ghosts, and the bride is a famous, iconic part of the attraction. So let's go do so good. Now, who's Tiffany Haddish? She will be a medium who is called to commune with the spirits of the dead. So that's a very tall order because she'll be compared, of course, to Whoopi Goldberg from the movie Ghost with Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore. But I think Tiffany Haddish could do a lot with that role. But as you can see, that's why I think that you want a really strong comedic actress to take on that part. But I have to tell you that just sounds absolutely phenomenal. Like Scarlett Johansson's in Tower of Terror. Is the Gucci trailer tomorrow? Halsey? I have a screening at 11, so better drop at 9. James Alford. I don't know if Tiffany Haddish will be the Crystal Ball Woman. Maybe she'll interact with the Crystal Ball Woman. I think this sounds excellent. I think let's see how they turn it into a 4-quadrant movie. Jungle Cruise, by the way, is like an incredible 4-quadrant movie. That is extreme. Dwayne Johnson did a fabulous job producing Jungle Cruise. But this just sounds fantastic. It just sounds so good. Oh, the Gucci trailer tomorrow is a rumor. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's going to hit tomorrow. I haven't heard anything. I'll look into it. But I think this Haunted Mansion movie sounds so good. Sion Marion says the Disneyland Paris Haunted Mansion is the best and darkest of them all. That's correct. That is my favorite Haunted Mansion as well. If you have not been to Disneyland Paris, they have a Haunted Mansion which totally focuses on the bride and a woman. I don't know if she couldn't get married, like she wanted to and she couldn't find anyone, or her husband died, but it's just something about this woman who's in a bridal gown who's very depressed. And it's like super dark and super creepy and super goth and romantic. And I just really love it. I think that is by far and away the best Haunted Mansion that there is. So what's everyone's favorite Haunted Mansion? Because they each have a different theme. Each park has a different theme. Like, for instance, the one in Disney World is the Northeast. But if you're in Disneyland, it's like a southern plantation. Oh, her father kept killing the grooms. Oh, man, that's awesome. It's just it's such a good place. Hey, Jeff Brown. Most of you have only been on the Orlando one. The Orlando one's good. It creeps me out. I often have a hard time going on it because I think it's scary. Panda Pal 13. Who said that? Who wrote that? Oh, Michael said, great episode on Behind the Attraction. Oh, I got to watch that. Panda Pal says, I have a soft spot for Disney World, but Phantom Manor in Paris has the better story. It's a really good story. If you ever find yourself in Disney World, Disneyland in Paris, go on that attraction. It's super creepy. I loved it. Hey, Mario Rosario. I like your name. Jeff, I'm so glad you remember too. All right, so let's go to the third story of the day, and then for the final 10 minutes of the stream, you may ask me anything that you would like. So stick around. This next story won't be too long. All right, boom, baby. Third story of the day. Jennifer Garner. When I saw yesterday, which I hit with a rotten tomato, I said this movie is crap, but I bet they make more of them. And sure enough, they are. They are making more of them. Jennifer Garner is not only making a Yes Day sequel, but she got a whole deal with Netflix out of it, which is pretty impressive. Good for her. Because you remember, Jennifer Garner was supposed to be this big action star because she was on that television show. What was the name of it? She's, big thing J.J. Abrams got off the ground. She played like what, Sydney something, right? Then she was Elektra, and she got mixed up in that whole Ben Affleck situation. So, Alias, that's right, Alias. So, but then it never really worked out for her, unfortunately. She did a couple of things, but it just didn't quite work out. But now she's like, I'm going to reinvent myself as like a professional movie mom. And it's going real well for her. So not only is she going to make this Yes Day sequel, but she's going to make a lot of movies with Netflix. She now has a production deal with them. And Scott Stuber, who runs Netflix's movie division, is really mining his Hollywood connections. He said he worked with Jennifer Garner, in the past when he was with the major studios. And he brought in Zack Snyder because of their relationship together in the past as well. Now, Jennifer Garner has 2 other movies at Netflix set up that actually are not part of this deal. So the Yes Day movies are part of this deal, but these are 2 other films that she's working on with them that I think one of them is particularly good. So she's part of the all-star cast for The Adam Project, which is from Sean Levy, starring Ryan Reynolds, Zoe Saldana, Mark Ruffalo, and Jennifer Garner. But then this is the good one. She's doing a movie that she's also producing called Family Leave, a.k.a. Bedtime for Mommy, about a working mom who decides that she can't do it anymore, she needs a break, and she wants to focus on family. And I think that sounds like a perfect movie for Jennifer Garner. I didn't even like Yes Day, and I'm like, I want to watch. I don't think Family Leave is a good name. I think Bedtime for Mommy is a really good title. That's based on a book, apparently. I think Bedtime for Mommy, and I'd be like, that's your title. That's your title right there. But maybe they want it to seem more of like, Jennifer Garner has like this overachiever aspect to her, like not always in a positive way, but I'm glad that she kind of like recognizes that about herself. And I feel like she's leaning into it. It's a little bit like Anne Hathaway, right? Like Anne Hathaway got like super annoying. But Anne Hathaway decided to embrace it, and she started playing like villains. And everybody was like, this is actually hilarious. So I think it's really great. I think it's great. I'm really happy for both of them. Although Anne Hathaway hasn't totally been, both of them are never at the level that they once were. But I think they're still carving out a space for both of themselves, and I think that's really impressive. Never give up! Just ask Lisa Rinna, who we talked about yesterday. Real Housewives is on tonight. I'm pretty excited. Just so you know, tomorrow will be a little wonky with my schedule. The rest of this week's going to be a little wonky in terms of scheduling. But I do have a fun video going up for you Sunday, early Sunday. But I have a screening tomorrow, and then it's just like a little bit of a wonky week. All right, so it is 5:26. You may ask me anything you'd like until I have to. You can ask me anything you like until 5:35. We'll do 9 minutes. 5:35. You may ask me anything that you would like. So sunny. Okay, Nicholas says, Grace, news on the Peggy Carter solo project after What If? I don't have anything particular for you on that. But I can tell you on the down low that you will be seeing more of Carter, Agent Carter, in live action MCU sooner rather than later. That's all I can say. I don't want to get in trouble for ruining surprises. Hey, Aaron Flanagan. I have to think of a Suicide Squad snack, by the way, for next week. I wonder what I'll have. Terry, that's very sweet of you. Hey, food is my friend. Paul says if they delay Spider-Man, will they move the entire slate? From what I'm hearing about Doctor Strange 2, Doctor Strange 2 is going to be as amazing a movie as Avengers Endgame. Like, people are just going to be like, you know that Kristen Wiig thing where she's like the surprise person? That's just people are going to be like the whole movie. They're just going to be like, oh my God, I can't take it. So I really would be reluctant to move that out of its May spot. And I think Black Panther 2 has a really good date right now. I really would be reluctant to move these movies anymore. So I think they're going to have to find another spot if they have to move it. But I got to tell you, they can't have another flop box office-wise like Black Widow. Although I do honestly feel that was partially the Black Widow movie's fault. Gummy sharks for Suicide Squad. Where can I get those during a pandemic? That's a darn good idea. Rohan, I've talked about the He-Man stuff. I feel like it didn't need to happen. That's the most frustrating thing about the He-Man situation. We didn't need to go through all that. Why did we do that? Everybody was happy to have more He-Man. It was like, that's when stuff gets weird. When you're like, why? When I was growing up, my dad kind of is famous for, there was like an argument, and my dad was kind of famous for walking into the room and saying, why is there anger? And that really stopped the argument because we thought that was such a funny thing to say. So that's really stuck with me over the years. And I kind of have the same, I think I often feel that way, where I'm like, why is there anger? Although I do feel that Kevin Smith started it. Let's see here. Ari said he started watching the Golden Girls because of my comments the other day and is enjoying it. It's pretty good. Get ready to get addicted. I have my screeners for Titans season 3. The embargo for that lifts on Friday of next week. I don't know why it lifts the day that Suicide Squad comes out. Like, this is the things that people like. It's like, why do you do it to me? Why do you do it to me? Why do you have to give me that problem? The Free Guy embargo is Thursday, a week from Thursday at 12 p.m. Let's see here. Who asked me that question? Patrick Durling says, do you feel critics are too harsh these days? If so, why? I feel like I don't think it's appropriate for me to talk. I appreciate you asking me that, but I don't think it's appropriate for me to talk about other critics. I know that some other critics like to talk about me, but they're just jackasses. All right. Ashley, I felt really bad I didn't get to react to the King Richard trailer, but I got so little sleep in the last few days. I slept in, and it messed up my entire day. But I did see the King Richard trailer, and I thought it looked really good. I thought it looked great. I was like, that is like a perfect Will Smith movie. Because one of my favorite Will Smith movies is The Pursuit of Happiness, which is very similar to that. And it's just a perfect kind of film for him. Any news on Constantine? I did hear that in the next 2 years, there will be 2 Justice League Dark shows. So there's stuff coming up pretty fast. James, no, I will have seen the Suicide Squad before I watch it with you guys. But that will be my second viewing. We'll have a great time. Oh, CJ, Dwayne Reed has gummy sharks? Oh, that's good. There's also, I don't know if I really want to go into a candy store right now, though. This Delta variant is messing up my mojo. Hey, Richard Santmeyer. Tracy says, can you share what Agent Carter will be in? No, I can't because I'll get in trouble. But I think it's pretty obvious where she would show up, considering where she's about to show up. So I think that's the biggest possible hint I could give you without actually saying it. Don't make me actually say it. Ephraim, M&M's for Polka Dot Man. Oh, you guys. So I think what we're going for here is a candy mix, right? I think that's pretty smart because maybe Sour Patch Kids, because, the Suicide Squad is sweet and sour. I like that idea. I should order some Sour Patch Kids. Let me make a note. Boo, 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 boo. Sour Patch Kids. There we go. That's a great idea. I guess I could mix M&M's with my Sour Patch Kids, but that sounds kind of gross. Has anyone ever done that? Candy and cheese. Platinum Diva, that's hilarious. I love it. Although the Suicide Squad does look pretty cheesy. Wah, wah. Oh, it writes itself. Oh, I love it. Now I want cheese. Can I get nachos anywhere? I bet I could get nachos, but I'd have to. So here's the thing. I can't eat movie theater food at the movies because of coronavirus. But I've kind of been playing with the idea of after the movie, getting movie theater snacks and taking them home and just cleaning them off. So could I clean off the nachos? Does anyone work in a movie theater? How do you reheat the cheese? Could I microwave it in that little container? I don't know if I could. It's plastic. Halsey's like, do it, microwave it. Somebody asked me a question here. Where did it go? Barbie Minaj says, thoughts on Elizabeth Olsen saying Marvel isn't developing Young Avengers. They're already showing up. So they might not, I mean, also, I don't think Elizabeth Olsen is like totally paying attention to everything, you know? But I mean, I think, you know, Kevin Feige's not like, wait, hold on, let me tell Elizabeth Olsen everything I'm working on. But I mean, you can see that they're already being introduced. You have, you know, Miss America, you have the twins, you have all these other characters. They're definitely coming. CJ, I do like M&Ms and popcorn quite a bit, but I worry about getting the popcorn home. Don't breathe on my food, man. Oh, you want to know the embargoes for What If? I'll tell you the embargoes for What If. The social media embargo for What If is 3 a.m. on Sunday morning. So when it hits Saturday midnight, 3 hours from then, Eastern Standard Time, is the social media embargo. And then the review embargo is the 10th, the day before it debuts, at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Oh, it's 5:35. All right, let me give a couple of shout outs and then I got to go. Zach, Spying Mentor, I thought the King Richard trailer looked really great, as I just said. I can't tell you anything about What If. I'm under embargo. Strict embargo. Ashley says, do you have spreadsheets with all your review schedules? No, the way I do my schedule is I actually have stickies. You know how stickies on a Mac, stickies you put on your screen? I have stickies, and I do a running schedule of everything I have to do. And so it's all right there. Otherwise, I would not remember to do things. I'm not going to review The Green Knight. I was too busy on Tuesday to go to the press screening, and so I'm probably not going to review it. Hector is finishing up work before his trip to Mexico. Oh, have a great time. Oh, hey, Halsey, you're right in Brooklyn, right near me. Casey, I haven't heard anything about Bob Odenkirk. I'm scared for him. Mikey, you just got your second vaccine shot. I'm so happy for you. Everybody get vaccinated. Ari is procrastinating in rainy London. That sounds lovely. Dara is working his way through Friends. You're on season 1. Friends is a great watch. Oh, I don't think I'm going to review Batman The Long Halloween Part 2 because it's just going to be me hating on it for the whole review. And most people really enjoyed it. Okay, I'll tell you my thoughts on the Batman The Long Halloween right here. And I stayed up till like 3 in the morning so I could review this. The whole thing was a real shit show. I'm really upset about how it turned out for me. But anyway, they totally changed the ending of the comic book. They made such huge changes that I was like, this is garbage. However, for those of you who didn't read the comic, you like it. And I understand that. So I'm happy for you. So I don't want to just sit there and just, be like it sucked. So, Sion, I'm glad you're coming out of isolation. I'm glad you seem to be okay. Ryan's having Mexican for dinner. Ivan's in Mexico, about to finish Harley Quinn season 2. And I'm so sad for Kite Man. But it needed to happen. Lisa's watching the Olympics. That's great. Jay King is in Manhattan. I'm so happy you're back for the live streams too. Let's see here. Barbie Minaj says, watching you while working in sunny Ohio. Denzel's at the McDonald's drive-thru. Get nuggets! Get nuggets! And let's see here. Newswriter 22 saw my first movie in 17 months on Sunday. I actually felt pretty safe in Toronto. Yeah, just wear your mask. I think you'll be okay if you wear your mask. And I try not, if you want to go to a crowded movie, go to like, hey, Mario Ruiz, go to like a theater where like the Dolby, people are pretty spaced out in the Dolby. So I think that helps. All right, everybody. I loved chatting with you as always. You guys are so much fun. I just love talking to you. I'm hoping to have some couple videos for the rest of the week, but next week's going to be a real party. We're going to have a really good time. I have so many videos planned for next week. It's insane. It's going to be great. I can't wait. All right, everybody. Talk to you soon. Bye. Bye.